Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So till now we have discovered what are access modifier, we have discovered what is public and what is private, and what is default access modifier. But we didn't complete the protected one. So as I have mentioned that when we complete the OOPS or when we complete the inheritance concept of object oriented programming, we'll be dealing with the protected keyword. So as I promised that our today's session will be covering inheritance, that is our first concept in object oriented programming concepts. So let's get started with this. So before moving directly to the inheritance topic, you know that object oriented programming have several concepts like inheritance, encapsulation, polymorphism, and abstraction. You might have heard about these terminologies, correct? But before moving to each one of them, my first question is, what is object oriented programming? So yes, so my question is, what do you mean by object oriented? Over here with the word itself, you might have guessed the meaning of this, that something that is dealing with objects. So yes, you have guessed it right, that the programming that deals with objects, or I can say that only deals with object, is a purely object oriented programming language. Alright, so my question is Java purely object oriented? Alright, first let's see what do I mean by objects in this content. So object oriented means, as I said, always dealing with the objects. So whose object do we create? We create objects of classes. So which means a programming language that deals with classes and objects is nothing but a object oriented programming language, or a purely object oriented programming language. So I can say that a programming language is purely object oriented if it is dealing, or if everything inside that programming language is taken care by classes and objects. So is Java purely object oriented programming language? Is everything in Java class? Is string a class? Definitely yes, string is a class. String builder, yes, it is a class. String buffer, yes, it is a class. But now can you tell me, int, is int a class? No. Is float a class? So as I said that we have primitives data type that are predefined. Sorry, yes, so primitive data types, the 8 data types that we have predefined, int, float, byte, short, char, double, boolean, they are predefined data type. They are not classes, they are something that is, we can say that, hard coded or predefined by Java. So this is the reason why Java is not purely object programming language, though Java follows the object oriented programming concepts. But at this point while we look into the primitives, Java lacks the feature of object oriented programming language, because we know that int, float, double, byte, short, all these 8 primitive data types are not classes. And if a programming language doesn't deal with only classes and objects, which means it is not object oriented, or it is not a purely object programming language. So this is a famous interview question. The interviewer usually asks that, is Java purely object oriented or completely object oriented programming language? The answer to this is no. Then the interviewer will ask why. Then now you have got the answer, that because we have primitives data types, the 8 primitive data types like int, byte, short, char, boolean, double, float, they are not any class, means we don't have any classes and objects of int or float. So that's the reason why over here we are not dealing with classes and object, which means it is not a purely object oriented programming language. Though there are other concepts to overcome this feature, but then too we do have int, float, or I can say the 8 primitive data types. So that's the reason why Java is not purely object oriented language. Yes, and we'll see how this thing is overcome using different wrapper classes, so we don't have to bother about that for now. So now, as you know that what do I mean by object oriented programming, correct? Now the first concepts that we are going to learn is inheritance. All right, so what do you mean by inheritance? In a layman terms, we can say that inheritance means inheriting properties. Or we can say the features. As we inherit property, we humans inherit property from our parents, correct? Parents, grandparents, like this. So we are child, correct? We inherit property from our parent. So what we can say that first we have a parent, and parent's property is inherited by a child. In a normal real-time example, we are child, we inherit property of our parents. So we are inheriting some features. So the same way we have a concept of inheritance in programming, in which a child inherits the property of parents. Now what is this child and parents? They are nothing but a class. So this child class inherits the property from the parent class. Alright, so the parent class is often known as superclass. So don't get confused with this, and the child class is also known as subclass. So don't get confused with these words. Now I'll explain you how inheritance takes place in coding. So as I said that we have a parent class whose property a child is inheriting, and it's up to the child. Like, see, we do not inherit each and every property of our parent, correct? We do inherit the property, or I can say that we almost inherit 100% of the property from our parents, but we do some modifications and variations in these properties. So somewhere, yes, we have the actual inherited properties, but at some place we have the modifications as well. So we'll talk about the modifications later, but for now we have to learn about the inheritance. So our main goal for this class is learning about the inheritance. So now, as I said that we have a superclass, that is our parent class, and we have a child class. So it is obvious that child is going to inherit property of parents, not the parent is going to inherit the property of child, correct? Parent is not the one who is inheriting, child is the one who is inheriting the property of the parent, correct? You can relate it with your real time examples. So now let's say we have a vehicle class. This vehicle class can have several properties. So let's say the property number 1, property number 2, property number 3. So these 3 properties are actual or are obvious to any vehicle. Alright, so let's say the properties are wheels. Have wheels, the property, correct? Have color, the property. Am I right? So let's take 204 now. Yes, so these are the 2 properties that each and every vehicle will be having, correct? And some might not have. So let's say they are a Boolean type. All right, this is just an example, do not get confused with this. Yes, so let's say each vehicle has a property of has wheel. It should be like this, has wheel, correct? So now, and let me have color. All right, yes. So now over here, this is a vehicle class. Now you know that there are several kinds of vehicle. car, bike, and aeroplane, ship, train, correct? So, and there are a lot more. So now you know that these are the kinds of vehicle, but then too they are a vehicle, correct? All of them are a vehicle. Am I right? So all the basic features of this vehicle class should be inherited by the car class, bike class, aeroplane class, ship class, and the train class. Now the reason for inheriting is the code reusability. Now let's say a vehicle class have some 50 features that are common to all vehicles. Okay, so our vehicle class is having 50 features that are common to all vehicle. So let's say I am having a car class, a ship class, a aeroplane, a train, a bike. So now you know that all of them will be having these 50 features. So instead of writing 50 separate lines for this, 50 features for this, 50 features of this, 50 features for this, 50 features for this, we know that all of them are sharing the same properties. Why not create a single class and let's make it a super class or the parent class, and let's inherit this class by each one of this class. So these classes are nothing but the child class, and they are inheriting the 50 properties defined inside the vehicle class, and they are now inheriting those 50 properties for their particular classes, correct? So this is how you can understand the concept of inheritance. We'll see in code, do not worry about this. All right, so let us take a different example to make it more authentic. Yes, so we have a car class, let's say. So car class, you know that there are several brands. So let's say for now I am having a BMW brand. Now you know that car has some basic features. So let's say int number of wheels. I'm not focusing on the syntax or the best practices because we have discussed that previously. I'm just focusing on the concept. So car, the basic feature is has number of wheels, or int number of, right, so airbags, let's say 2. The modification process we'll see when we deal with polymorphism. All right, so int, let's say it has varied range of colors. So let's say color array, and it has some red, white, black, or some kind of this stuff. So now this is just the basic criteria that each car will have. Each car can have, means will be having 4 wheels, 2 airbags. We are saying that, we are assuming. All right, so now you know that these are the basic features. So why to write it again for the BMW, why to write it again for Mercedes, why to for Maruti, correct? So it is not the best practice. It means you are writing the code again and again. So instead of writing the code again and again, what you did is you created a separate class called as car. You put the common feature of every car inside that class. So let's say we have 10 features. Now you inherited that class using a particular brand. Am I right? Yes. So let's practice this. So now first thing that I will tell you, that to inherit a parent class, how can a child class can inherit a parent class? Using a extends keyword. So I'll say child class extends the parent class. So over here you have to write the child class name, over here you have to write the parent class name. All right, so let's give it a try. All right, so over here I'll just create 2 classes. One is car and other one I'll create is BMW. I hope it's getting little bit clear to all of you. So now inside the car, let me say we have int number of tires equals to 4. This is the basic criteria. Or let me say boolean has engine equals to true, because every car will have an engine. Am I right? Yes. So let's say these are the two basic features of a car. There might be hundreds of them, but for now we are just focusing about the inheritance concept. So let's not go inside the car stuff. So now these are the two basic criteria for each car. Now let's say you are having a BMW, you are having another class as well, Mercedes, another class as Audi. Right, all caps. Yes, and let me declare another one as well. So Ferrari. All right, so these are the 5 brands: the BMW, Mercedes, Audi and Ferrari. All right, now you know that each one of have 4 number of tires equals to 4. So you will be doing something like this. You will be copying this line, you will be moving the same line into this class. It's the copying stuff, I guess. Yes, and then you will move to next class, you will do the same, and then you will move to next class and you will do the same. So now over here you wrote this line 4 times. Now the next feature, the basic common feature, int, let's say what we took over here is, okay, boolean has engine. All right, I'll take this. Now you know this is the basic feature, but then too you are writing it by your own. So you are writing that line specifically for each and every classes. Now can you see that what you have did? You just did the copy paste work, but now you have increased the code. You have copied it 4 times and pasted it in 4 different classes. So now you know that there are hundreds of car brands, and if you define different classes for this, then it will be very cumbersome task for you to write this. And over here I am just having 2 common features, there might be hundreds of them. So it is not a best practice to follow, because you will eventually end up writing unnecessary codes. So is there any alternative? So I said that yes, you can just wrap these 2 lines of code in a class. All right, so I'm just deleting this code. Yes, now this class looks clean, correct? Now I said that all right, I'm declaring the class name as car, and I have wrapped this code inside this car class. Great. Now how does my BMW car extends this property? How does it inherits this property? I said that use the concept of inheritance, extend that particular class using the extends keyword as we have discussed, correct? All right, so now let me do it the same way for others. So now as I have promised that each one of them will inherit the properties of the parent class. So let's say system.out.println BMW dot, do we have any suggestions? No. Do we have any number of cars? No, we don't have any suggestions. The reason, instance variables, correct? So we need to create the objects. So do not think like, hey, you have given us the wrong guidance that the concept doesn't works well. So you have to first create the object, because you are trying to point out the instance variable, and you know that for calling the invoking the instance variable you need to create a object. All right, so yes, over here now if I try to print this, will it work? Yes, it works. Correct. See, over here I am creating the object of my BMW car. Correct. And BMW class, and now we are able to print its number of tire, though we don't have any variable like number of car over here, but we do have it inside our parent class. So what happens over here is, as soon as I try to invoke this, it searches for this number of tires in over here. If it is not present, it will search inside the super class, or we can say the parent class. Correct. So the same way we can do it over here as well. So the main method, and I'll just create the object for this. System.out.println m dot number of tires. Will it work? Yes, it works. Correct. If I say has engine, will it work? Yes, it works. So now you have noticed that we are inheriting the property from our child, the parent class. Now you can understand this concept, and now you can relate that there might be hundreds of such basic features that can be inside this car class, and then you can easily inherit. So let's say if one common feature is applicable to all of the cars in the world, and now you want to add it to each and every car, will it be a difficult task without inheritance? Yes, correct. Because if I add the third feature, and if I'm not using the inheritance, I would have to write the third feature in each and every class. But now what happens? All right, the third feature needs to get added. I just want to add it over here. Correct. That's it. It will be inherited by all of the classes. So I hope it's clear to everyone till now. So this is the way inheritance works. So do you have any doubts till now? You can ask me, or we'll just proceed further. So now, what is the main goal of using inheritance? Inheritance is nothing but reusability. Correct. Reusing a code. So the main goal, or the main benefit, or we can say the advantage of using the inheritance is reusability, the code reusability. And it is also, it makes us easier for changing the code. Like if you want 100 features to be added to 1000 different classes, you will just wrap this 100 feature in one class and just extend, or just make this class as the super class, and just extend this class by other child classes. Correct. Now if other features needs to get added, you just need to change it over here. Let's say +1. So over here there are 101 feature, but now it has been changed for all 1000 of them. So instead of going to each 1000 of these classes and writing the one new feature, we have just written it inside this, and it's good to go. So do you have any doubts? All right. Okay. So now let's move to the next concept called as different types of inheritance. Okay. So over now here we'll learn how many kinds of inheritance are available in Java. So what we did in a code, car gets extended by our BMW class. So BMW definitely our child class, and car is our parent class. So how many levels can you see? From parent to child, that's it. Only a single level. So this is something called as single level inheritance. All right. So now let's say BMW is a brand. Correct. So let's say this brand creates a new car. All right. The new car, let's say it's M8. Yes. So now you know that this M8 is developed or designed by BMW, so it must have the features that are inside the BMW class, and also the feature of the car class, because car class is the base class which declares the basic functionality of each and every class, correct? So now what I can do is extends BMW, correct? So now this M8 class extends the BMW. Now this M8 will have all the features of BMW, and BMW has the feature of car class. So let me add one feature over here. So let's say BMW over here, yes, so boolean as airbag equals to true. So we are assuming that each BMW car will have the airbag. All right, so now M8 will definitely have this, correct, the airbag feature. So now instead of writing the airbag feature over here, what we did is we extended it to, means we made the BMW class as the parent class for our M8 class. So now let me create an object for this. System.out.println m.c. How many suggestions do we get? Has engine. So let me print this. It gives true. If I say has number of tires over here, it gives 4. And if I say has airbag, we'll get the output as true. So can you see over here, this M8 is not having any feature over here, and even the BMW class is just having the have airbag feature. So now the M8 class is able to inherit the have airbag class from the BMW, correct? Number of tires feature from the car class, and also has, we had over here engine from the car class, correct? This feature was also inherited by the car class. So can you see over here that M8 is indirectly extending car class as well, because what happens over here is we had a car class, it was extended by BMW class, and then BMW is extended by M8. And now let's say we have different models of M8 as well. So let's say M81, M82, M83. Yeah, it won't be like this, but we are just assuming that there are 3 features of M8. So now you know that this M81, M82, M83 will have few things in common, or I can say that we'll have all the abilities of M8 and we'll have some different or 1 or 2 different features from them, but we'll have the different feature or the same features that we have in the M8, because they are the child of M8 brand, sorry, M8 model. Am I right? So over here, how many levels do we have? Is it single level? No, this was a single level, but now I am having multiple classes inside my chart, correct? So now, yes, so for now what happens, we don't have a single class inheriting the parent class, we have multiple classes. It is inheriting BMW, but it is indirectly inheriting the features of car, because BMW is inheriting the feature of car. So this is something called as multi level inheritance. The second type we discovered. The first type was single level. Over here multi-level. Just focus on this, it is multi-level, not multiple. Okay, now the third one is hierarchical that we have already covered. Now let me explain this. This was our car class. Who is extending this class? The BMW class, the Audi, the Mercedes, and the Ferrari. Can you see? This is not, see, single level was like this, multi-level was like this, but this is not like one below the other. This is not having like this, it is having branches. Can you see? So this is something called as hierarchical, because BMW was then by M8 and M8 by M8 M8 2, M8 3, correct? So these are branching. That's the reason why they are called as hierarchical. All right. So I hope it is clear to every one of you that what do I mean by hierarchical. I'm not sure about the spelling, so do not worry about the spelling over here. So this is something called as hierarchical inheritance, correct? Or let me just give it a try. Hope it's correct. All right, so this is hierarchical inheritance. So what we have discovered is single level, multi-level, hierarchical, correct? So these are the three kinds of inheritance we have discovered till now. All right, so you are asking that do we need to declare has airbag variable outside the main method? All right, now you are going to answer to this question. Just a second. All right, so let me move back to our BMW class. So what if I have this variable inside my main method? If I have it over here, what will be the scope of this? The scope will be just the curly braces, and main method is encountered only when we run our code. The JVM calls it, correct? So have airbag won't have any sense, means it won't make any sense if I declare it over here, because we need to get it accessed as soon as my class is called, correct? So if I make it as a global variable, which means I am giving it a feature that as soon as I create an object of it, I can invoke it. So if I make it inside the main method, if I declare it inside the main method, what will it affect? Like how it will perform? This will have the scope of local variable, and local variable are not accessible outside this particular method. So I cannot access it using the Ferrari class, correct? Because I cannot access the variable b over here, correct? Because b is a local variable, his scope is just the method block. I can invoke a method of a particular class. All right, so I hope it's clear to all of you. So now the next level of inheritance we'll see, that is we'll see whether it is supported or not. So let's say we have class A, it is extended by B. All right, so B is extending A, and now you want that B also extends C. Now will it be a valid way of declaring this? You want that BMW should extend a car and Audi as well, or let's say any, something like this. Is it a valid way? The answer to this is no, because let's say A is having a run method, just a example, and B is also having a run method, and let's say we were able to extend both of them in the child class, that is a C class. So let's say if I create the object of C and I say C dot run, whose run method it is going to call? Will it be of A or will it be of B? So this is the problem that we face while performing multiple inheritance, because now the compiler, or we can say the JVM, gets confused that whose run method we are supposed to call. And this is something called as a problem, a famous problem called as diamond problem, or also called as deadly diamond. Alright, so do not worry about the stuff when you see that what do you mean by diamond problem or what is diamond problem in Java. Now I hope it is clear to you that whenever we try to perform multiple inheritance using classes, our A, B, C are classes, correct? So it cannot be achieved because we have a diamond problem, that we just, the JVM just get confused that whose run method or whose particular method you need to invoke. So that's the reason why multiple inheritance is not provided, or it cannot be happen in Java through classes. There are different methods, different ways of achieving it, but yes, we can say that multiple inheritance is not supported in Java. So this is again a famous question, that is multiple inheritance supported in Java? The answer, you have to give it no, it is not supported, but then too we can achieve it using different means, and we'll see how we can achieve this. So do not worry about this, but for now I'll say that we can achieve it using interface. You don't know interface, no worries, we'll see in the abstraction stuff. So do not worry about this. So your question is method overloading, will it work in inheritance? So you are asking that if I'm having overloaded method in my parent class, will I be able to call the overloaded method? So let's give it a try. So let's say my BMW, this is just an example, all right? So public void run, let's say, and I'm saying system.out.println running inside no argument method, all right, because this method doesn't take any arguments. So let me declare the same method with the same name, but let me change the parameter list. So let's say A, and inside single argument correct. So over here there are two different methods, we can say, though their name are same but they have different parameter list, which means we are able to successfully overload. Am I right? So now let me say m dot run. If I call a run method without any parameter, what do we get? Output running inside a no arg method. If I just pass a int parameter, what will get? Running inside single argument method. So yes, overloaded methods can also be invoked because they are a method. Like for us, they have the same name, but for JVM, or I can say for the compiler, they are different methods because they have different signature. Yes, so you are asking that I have A class and B class and the C class. So let's say they don't have any method in common. All right. So let's say this is having run and this is having stop. They don't have any common methods. So now in this case, we should be able to perform multiple inheritance. But what I said that we had to make, while developing something, you had to make a statement, you have to give some rules that your programming language will follow. If I say that yes, I can achieve multiple inheritance using classes, then the audience will say that hey, you cannot perform if both of the methods are like this. So you have to make a general statement that should work in each and every scenario. So what they have did is they just remove the feature of multiple inheritance. So by removing it, we don't have any such conflicts, and for achieving it we have other means, and we'll be dealing with that after a few sessions. So I hope it is clear. And also it has been said that the hybrid level, but yes, it is quite the same as multi-level, the same way. So B is extending from A, C is also extending from A, and D is extending from B and C. So over here I am again performing the multiple inheritance, which means it is not directly supported over here, correct? So yes, hybrid, we can say that hybrid and multiple are kind of same. All right, so over here we say that it is a deadly diamond of death or the diamond problem, because as we have discussed the problem, we see that two classes have the same properties. A and B have the same properties, the property 1 and property 1 over here as well. So C will get confused whose property 1 it has to inherit or it has to invoke. All right, so this is the problem that we face while multiple inheritance. So I hope it is very much clear to every one of you, correct? So do you have any doubts till now? You can ask me. And now, what is protected? Let's cover this. Protected keyword, I said that accessibility, accessible throughout the package, the same way the default had. We discussed this property, but the second property, that plus sub packages or subclasses outside the package. So what do I mean by this? Now you know what are subclasses. Yes, it is a kind of easy stuff, right? Subclasses are nothing but a child class. So if my child class is present outside my current package, then too it can inherit the, or then too it can invoke the protected members. All right, so let's give it a try. So let's say over here the student, I'll just go into the student, do not worry about the previous stuff. So I'll just declare a method called as public void check system.out.println inside check method, correct? Now let's say test, it is public, correct? So now let's say I have a test, and over here inside the test I want to invoke that, correct? So what I can do is student s is equals to new student, I can create its object and I can say that as dot check, correct? I need to import it because it is inside the different package, so I am importing it. All right, so now it says that inside check, because it is public we don't have any issues. Now what if I make it private? You know that it won't get accessed, am I right? Great. What if I make it default? Like this, no access specifier, then too it is not accessible, because see it is not visible because test is in a different package, correct? So to make it visible, all right, I had said that you can use protected to make it visible outside the package, but one thing that you need to keep in mind is the outside or the child, it should be the child class of that class. So extends student. Now will it work? Now let me say that, now if I say test t is equals to new test like this, and over here if I say t, will it work? Yes, it does, correct? So by inheriting I can access the protected, by inheriting we can access the protected stuff, the any protected stuff. All right, so the protected things, or we can say the stuff, the members, the variables, the features, whatever we want to say, even if they are in a different package. Over here they are in the object package and our test class is inside the strings package, correct? So yes, we can do this using the protected keyword, or if it is public, but if I make it public, then anyone can access it. All right, so now it is extending. So now your question will be, let's make it private, then too it should inherit it. But now can you see, it is not able to inherit, because as I said that private means visibility only for that particular class, or only for its own class. That's it. Now let it be its child or let it be its parent, that doesn't matter, because if it is private, it is private to that particular individual, that particular class. So even the child class cannot inherit it. All right, so I hope it's clear to every one of you that what do I mean by access specifier, like how access specifier works, the public, the private, the protected, and the default one. You know inheritance, you know different kinds of inheritance, the single level, the multi-level, the hybrid, or I can say the hierarchical, and then you know this and this are not supported, the hybrid and the multiple are not supported. So yes, only this are supported over here. All right, but these are not supported. Yes, but we can achieve them, and we'll see how. These are the kinds of inheritance, and out of this, two are not supported in Java, not in Java. All right, so I hope it is clear to all of you that how inheritance, what is the concept of inheritance, how we can use it for reusability, like for reusing our code. Correct? So do you have any doubts? You can ask me, and in our next session we'll see other concepts. All right, so we'll take polymorphism. Yes, so I was thinking of taking encapsulation, but encapsulation and abstraction will do continuously. So we'll take polymorphism in our next session. So do you have any doubts till now? All right, so we'll catch up tomorrow at the same time. So till then, do you have any doubts? You can just comment your doubt in the comment section, and we'll meet tomorrow at the same time. So thank you everyone for joining today's session.